Before a single dollar is earned, before a single fortune is built, before a single empire rises from dust, there is a thought, not just any thought, a trained thought, a disciplined, focused, relentless, intentional stream of mental energy, sculpted like a sword in the forge of belief. You see, wealth doesn't begin in the bank, it begins in the brain. A millionaire doesn't wait for riches to change his mind. He changes his mind so riches are drawn to him. There is a reason the same handful of men kept rising through history like phoenixes from ashes. Carnegie, Edison, Ford, Jobs. These were not men of random thought. They were mental architects. Where others let their minds drift like leaves in the wind, they took the reins of their thoughts like a general commanding troops in battle. Every belief, every decision, every second, trained, sharpened, optimized. So I ask you, what is the interest rate of your thoughts? What kind of compound value are you building by what you think every single day? Most people guard their wallets tighter than their minds. They'll argue over pennies, but let toxic thoughts run free inside their heads. They'll protect their passwords, but leave the door to their subconscious wide open. If your mind were a vault, would it be filled with treasures or trash? You want to become unstoppable? Then you must train your thoughts the way a millionaire trains his money, with clarity, with precision, with vision, with ruthless accountability, because your thoughts are assets. Every idea you nurture, every belief you reinforce is either earning you interest or charging you a cost. Most people are bankrupt not in their finances, but in their thinking. And like financial ruin, mental ruin starts slow, one bad belief at a time, one excuse too many, one moment of laziness that calcifies into a lifestyle. Let me tell you the truth. No one ever stumbles into greatness. Greatness is deposited, invested, compounded, just like wealth. And the currency is your mental discipline. The mind is the original marketplace. Before any deal is struck out there, a decision is struck in here. That's why the millionaire doesn't just track his bank balance, he tracks his emotional balance. He trains his thinking the way a financial genius trains his portfolio, cutting losses, doubling down on strengths, eliminating waste, reinvesting in growth. When Andrew Carnegie mentored a young Napoleon Hill, he didn't give him money, he gave him a mindset. He taught him that success isn't inherited, it's engineered through thought. That riches don't answer to wishes, they answer to will. You must become your mind's portfolio manager. Audit your thinking the way a CEO audits his accounts. Are your daily thoughts adding value or stealing it? Are you investing in courage or overspending on fear? Are you diversifying into vision, discipline, faith, or are you stuck in the same bankrupt cycle of excuses? You were not born to be average, you were born to awaken, to rise. But that rising begins with your inner dialogue, because the stories you tell yourself become the life you build around you. The moment you change your narrative, you begin changing your reality. Let that settle. Your current reality is nothing more than a projection of your most dominant thoughts. If you want to elevate your life, you must elevate your thinking. Millionaires don't chase money. They attract it by becoming the kind of person money wants to stay with. It's not about hustle without purpose, it's about alignment with clarity. Every successful person you admire wasn't just working hard, they were thinking hard, strategically, deliberately, fearlessly, because thoughts become beliefs, beliefs become actions, actions become habits, and habits become destiny. You don't need a miracle, you need a mindset. You don't need more hours, you need better thoughts in the hours you already have. This is why discipline of thought is the greatest form of self-respect. Let me be blunt. If your mind is untrained, your life will be unstable, period. A mind full of scattered, fearful, reactive thoughts is like a portfolio full of bad debt. It drags you down slowly until you're bankrupt in motivation, bankrupt in focus, bankrupt in belief. But a trained mind compounds daily. It multiplies possibility. It scales up courage. It sees problems as profit potential. It builds wealth not just in dollars, but in peace, purpose, and power. That's why your number one investment must be your mindset. Not your phone, not your car, not your clothes, your mindset. If you think like the masses, you'll earn like the masses. If you think like the masters, you'll earn like the masters. So train your thoughts like a millionaire trains his money, because you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your habits of thought. And nothing will change out there until something changes in here. Every thought is a seed. What you plant in the silence of your mind will grow in the noise of your life. And the truth is, your outer world is just a harvest of your inner dialogue. You can't outwork a poor mindset. You can't outrun a self-defeating belief. You can't out-hustle a thought process that's quietly betraying you behind your own eyes. Let me tell you something about Henry Ford. Before he ever built the Model T, before he disrupted the transportation industry, before he revolutionized the assembly line, he had to fight his own mind. People told him his idea was impossible, that he was wasting his time, that cars were for the elite and horses were here to stay. But Ford didn't argue with them. He trained his mind to argue against the doubt inside himself. Because it's not the doubters outside that destroy you. It's the voice inside that agrees with them. He built mental machinery long before he built physical machinery. He didn't just have a dream. He developed the discipline to protect that dream, water it, guard it from weeds, and refine it until the world had no choice but to watch it bloom. You want to live like the 1%. Think like the 1%. Most people run from discomfort. Millionaire thinkers, they run toward it because they understand that diamonds are only born under pressure, that clarity is forged in chaos, that strength is sculpted in storms. They've trained themselves to think with intention, to focus with force, and to act without waiting on motivation. That's what sets them apart. Not talent, not luck, but how they train their thoughts when no one's watching. Every moment you're awake, you are either programming your mind or your mind is programming you. If you don't take control of your inner world, the outer world will take control of you. You must become the gatekeeper, ruthless about what you let in, relentless about what you reinforce. Think of your thoughts like tenants in a high-rise apartment. Would you let fear move in rent-free? Would you give procrastination the penthouse? Would you let self-doubt throw wild parties on every floor? No. You evict them immediately because you're building an empire, and every empire begins with the architect's mind. Discipline is the currency of the wealthy mind. A millionaire doesn't just invest money, he invests mental energy, attention, and clarity. He doesn't react to life, he responds with a trained mind that sees through distractions and focuses on direction. Your ability to command your thoughts is your real bank account, and the interest it pays shows up in your decisions, your confidence, your relationships, your energy, and ultimately your freedom. You want freedom? It starts here, in the space between stimulus and response, in the sacred moment where you choose what thought to amplify. That's your leverage point. That's your control panel. That's where all wealth is born. But you must stop feeding your brain junk and expecting it to build gold. Just like a millionaire wouldn't put his fortune in unstable stocks. You can't keep investing your attention in negativity, gossip, fear, and excuses and expect your life to produce peace and progress. You must audit everything. Your inputs, your routines, your self-talk, your identity, and you must reinforce the thoughts that serve your vision, ruthlessly, without apology, without negotiation. This is where belief comes in. Belief is not hope. Belief is not a wish. Belief is mental equity. A trained belief becomes a force of nature. When a millionaire believes in something, he doesn't wait for the world to approve it. He builds it until the world must acknowledge it. Walt Disney was fired from his first job because his boss said he lacked imagination. Imagine that. One of the most creative minds in human history rejected. But he had already trained his thoughts to see rejection, not as a wall, but as a doorway. To see failure, not as death, but as redirection. And so he built a world of imagination anyway. That's belief. Not blind, not desperate, but engineered, brick by brick through mental discipline. So I'll ask you again, what thoughts are you allowing to roam free in your mind? Would you trust them with your future? Would you invest your children's lives on the foundation of those thoughts? Because whether you like it or not, you already are. This is why you must become a thought strategist. You must do with your mind what the wealthy do with their portfolios. Evaluate, optimize, and act with precision. Most people never take time to think about their thinking. They react, they conform. They inherit belief systems from people who have never lived the life they want. They hand over the keys of their mind to people who don't even value their own. But the millionaire-minded, they seize the reins. They study their thoughts. They challenge them. They reframe failure into fuel. They turn doubt into drive. They mold every thought to serve a higher vision. That's why wealth chases them, because their minds are already rich, and yours can be too. But you must start today, because every thought you allow in, every belief you repeat, every excuse you let survive is either building your fortune or burying it. Clarity. That is the cornerstone of all trained thought. A millionaire doesn't wake up hoping he'll feel inspired. He wakes up knowing exactly what he's building, why he's building it, and what he must become to deserve it. Clarity is power. Vagueness is poverty. You cannot train your thoughts around confusion. You must define your direction with precision. You must know what you want with the same clarity that an investor knows his target return. You cannot afford to be casual with your vision. The world is too noisy, too demanding, too full of distractions designed to seduce the undisciplined mind. Clarity is what allows a trained thought to pierce through the fog. It's the North Star that separates the reactive from the intentional. And when your vision is clear, every thought begins to arrange itself around that center. This is why most people never achieve true success. They think they want more, but they never define more. More what? More money? More peace? More freedom? For what purpose? For what mission? A millionaire doesn't think in vague desires. He thinks in numbers, impact, lifestyle design. He builds blueprints in the mind before he lays bricks in the real world. You must do the same, because clarity disciplines your thoughts automatically. It gives your mind a filter. And when you have a filter, you can reject the unnecessary, the urgent but unimportant, the emotionally tempting but strategically foolish. You start thinking in alignment, not reaction. Your thoughts become arrows, not scattered bullets. And when that happens, your life accelerates. Clarity births vision. Vision fuels belief. Belief demands discipline. Discipline leads to action. And action compounds into transformation. But remember, vision without mental discipline is hallucination. Just like a financial dream without a budget is delusion. So once your vision is defined, you must guard it like a treasure. You must not let small people with small minds dilute it. You must not let temporary emotions sabotage permanent destiny. You must not confuse busyness for building. This is where purpose enters. Purpose is the emotional engine behind trained thought. It's the why that keeps you aligned when your energy runs low. It's what allows you to suffer with meaning, to sacrifice with intention, to endure the process without losing heart. Purpose turns pain into fuel. It transforms hardship into a forge. Every successful person you admire didn't avoid difficulty, they used it. Abraham Lincoln failed in business, lost elections, battled depression, but he had a trained mind rooted in a purpose greater than self. He wasn't driven by applause. He was driven by mission. The trained mind doesn't need permission to keep going. It doesn't need validation from the crowd. It doesn't chase dopamine. It chases discipline. It chases alignment. It chases the kind of life that doesn't need to scream because the results speak for themselves. When you move with purpose, you become immune to distractions. You stop comparing yourself to others because you're too focused on refining your own mission. You don't care what they're building, you care what you're becoming. And that's when the world starts to notice, not when you beg for attention, but when your clarity, your thought discipline, your unwavering purpose begins to radiate so strongly it's impossible to ignore. That is the aura of the millionaire thinker. Now let's talk discipline, not as punishment, but as precision. A millionaire doesn't just think about what he wants. He backs that thought with structure. He builds systems around his intentions. He doesn't hope he'll be focused. He designs a life where distraction can't survive. Discipline is the mechanism that transforms thought into momentum. It's what turns the abstract into achievement. It's what keeps the mind trained even when the emotions scream for escape. Most people are slaves to their feelings. Millionaire minds are servants of their vision. They wake up early when they're tired. They train when they're uninspired. They invest when others hesitate. They keep building when no one is clapping. Why? Because their thoughts have been trained for war, trained for wealth, trained to endure. Discipline is not restrictive. It is liberating. It removes decision fatigue. It silences the noise. It gives you the power to move with strength when the path gets hard. Because the path will get hard. And that's the final truth about the trained mind. It prepares for resistance. It anticipates setbacks. It welcomes friction. It doesn't crumble under pressure. It adapts. It adjusts. It recalibrates. A millionaire doesn't just train his thoughts for good days, he trains them for any day. He knows that storms are inevitable, but collapse is optional. The question is, will you fold like the masses, or will you fortify your mind like the elite? Because here's the raw truth. Money flows to the mind that knows how to control itself. Not just the mind that knows facts, not just the one with ambition, but the one that can govern its emotions, focus its attention, sustain its momentum, reinforce its purpose, and build under pressure. That is the mind that wealth respects. That is the mind that never begs, never blames, and never backs down. Action. This is where the trained mind proves itself. Not in words, not in dreams. In execution. Millionaires don't just think big, they act big. Their thoughts are not stuck in theory, they are translated into motion. They understand that thought without action is like a check with no signature. It has potential, but no power. The world doesn't pay you for what you think about doing. It pays you for what you actually do. But here's what separates the average from the elite. The elite don't wait for the perfect moment. They create it. They don't wait to feel ready. They train their thoughts to move anyway. The trained mind is not driven by convenience. It's driven by commome. And every day, you're either in command of your thoughts or you're being commanded by them. And here's the thing, thoughts left untrained will talk you out of everything you were born to become. They'll whisper, you're not good enough. You don't have what it takes. Maybe later. What if you fail? And unless you have trained those thoughts to obey your higher vision, you will fall victim to hesitation. And hesitation is the silent killer of every great destiny. A millionaire trains his thoughts to obey his decisions, not the other way around. Once he decides, it's done. The body follows the mind. The emotions align with the mission. The environment adapts to the standard. That is why most people stay stuck. They think about what they should do. Then they argue with themselves until the moment passes. But the trained thinker, he removes the debate. He acts swiftly, decisively, consistently. Let me give you a truth. Few will say. Success is not about speed. It's about direction and repetition. It's not one massive action. It's thousands of intentional, well-aimed actions repeated over time. That's how wealth compounds. That's how mastery is built. That's how legacies are formed. And the fuel for all of it, thought discipline. You don't rise to success by accident. You rise through alignment. When your thoughts are clear, your purpose is anchored, your emotions are in check, and your actions are relentless. There is nothing you cannot do, but action without gratitude is hollow. And here lies another truth few understand. Gratitude is not just an emotion. It is a mental alignment tool. It trains your mind to see abundance where others see lack. It rewires your focus toward progress, not problems. Gratitude doesn't make you complacent. It makes you capable. You want to train your mind like a millionaire? Then practice daily gratitude like one. The wealthiest thinkers are not the ones who have everything. They are the ones who recognize everything they've already got and leverage it with intensity. Gratitude turns what you have into fuel. It keeps your thoughts from spiraling into scarcity. It silences the noise of not enough and replaces it with the power of what's next. It makes you rich before the world calls you rich. That's why the great stay grounded, why they don't get lost in their ego, why they keep building even after they've made it, because they're not just chasing more, they're honoring what they've already been given. And that's what keeps the mind sharp, humble, focused, trained. A millionaire doesn't get attached to one plan, he gets married to one outcome, but he's flexible with the path. He trains his thoughts to pivot, to adjust, to move around obstacles without losing direction. When the market changes, he doesn't panic, he studies. When adversity strikes, he doesn't freeze, he recalibrates. Because his thoughts aren't rigid, they're resilient. Most people collapse the moment the plan doesn't go as expected. They mistake a detour for a dead end, but not the trained thinker. He knows that adaptation is part of growth. He knows that setbacks are setups, that every failure is data, every delay is feedback, every loss contains a lesson. The mind trained for success doesn't break under pressure. It bends and bounces back harder. That's why you must train your mind not just for winning, but for withstanding, because storms are part of the journey. And your ability to keep moving when others fold, that's what separates the wealthy from the wishy. You have to stop seeing failure as a signal to stop. You must start seeing it as proof you're in the arena, that you're in motion, that you're alive and chasing something bigger than comfort. The millionaire mind doesn't just survive the fire, it becomes forged by it. And that brings us to learning. The trained mind is never finished, never satisfied with what it knows. It is a constant student, curious, humble, hungry. A millionaire doesn't seek entertainment, he seeks enlightenment. He invests in mentors, books, masterminds, courses, conversations that stretch his perspective. Why? Because every new idea is a seed. Every challenge to his current belief system is an opportunity for elevation. He doesn't defend his ignorance, he dismantles it. That's the final form of a trained thought. It's evolutionary. It is never fixed. It grows, expands, refines, updates, and upgrades just like wealth does. And so must you. If you remember nothing else from this moment forward, remember this: your mind is the vault. Your thoughts are the currency. Your belief is the investment. And your future is the compound return. Everything you want already exists in the invisible realm. It exists in thought form, but only the disciplined, the focused, the relentlessly intentional will ever bring it into reality. The untrained mind will always chase crumbs. The trained mind will build the bakery. You are not your environment. You are not your past. You are not your circumstances. You are the architect of your reality, and your blueprint is drawn by thought. So if your life feels chaotic, go inward. If your results are average, go deeper. If your habits feel misaligned, go quieter. And listen, your thoughts are talking, loudly, daily, constantly. The question is, are you leading them or following them? Because thought is leadership. The first and final battlefield of every great transformation happens in the mind. Before Martin Luther King Jr. led marches, he led his thoughts. Before Elon Musk launched rockets, he launched belief systems. Before Oprah moved millions, she moved herself from trauma to triumph through the training of thought. You are no different. The same fire burns in you, the same energy, the same divine potential. But you must stop running from the mirror of your mind. You must face it, tame it, train it. The real war is not out there. It's the war between the man you are and the one you could become. And that war is won with thought, trained, focused, ruthless, unshakable. You want to rise? Then wake up with intention. Don't just scroll, study. Don't just wish right. Don't just dream design. Get up earlier. Read with hunger. Think with precision. Speak with belief. Move with urgency. Your thoughts are your army. Direct them. Feed them, deploy them, and never again let fear sit at the head of the table. Because fear is a thief. It will disguise itself as logic. It will wear the mask of humility. It will pretend to protect you, but all it really does is imprison you. You must evict fear from your thinking. Let faith in, let fire in, let boldness in. You are not here to survive the years. You are here to command them, to live in such alignment that when the world says slow down, your spirit says step up. And if you truly understood the power of a single trained thought, you'd never waste another moment. You'd never again entertain self-doubt. You'd never again worship comfort over calling. You'd never again listen to the noise of the crowd, because your inner signal would be too loud, too clear, too laser-focused on destiny. Let me say this now, not as motivation, but as truth. The world will not remember you for what you wanted. It will remember you for what you built. And what you build will be directly proportional to what you think. You train your body, why not your thoughts? You budget your money, why not your focus? You plan your meals, why not your emotions? This is the call. This is the line in the sand. To rise from mental poverty into thought leadership, from scarcity into sufficiency, from chaos into creation. Every empire started as an idea. So what idea in you is still waiting for permission to become real? Give it that permission now, because no one is coming to think for you. No one is coming to fix the chaos in your mind. No one is coming to train your thoughts while you sleep through your own life. You want to be powerful? Then master the source of power. You want wealth? Train your mind to move like money, calculated, intentional, always flowing toward value. You want peace? Train your mind to focus on the eternal, not the emotional. You want legacy? Train your mind to build beyond yourself. Your mind is your empire. It will either crumble under untrained chaos or rise into invincible greatness. So from this day forward, act like it, speak like it, walk like it, think like it. Train your thoughts like a millionaire trains his money, and you'll attract the kind of life no amount of money could ever buy. Not because the world gave it to you, but because you became the kind of person who could not be denied. And that is the mindset of a master. Train it, guard it, live it, because nothing is more valuable than a mind aligned with its mission. And nothing is more dangerous to mediocrity than a thinker who knows exactly where he's going. Now go, build